I'm sure you've all heard the words intuitive, psychic, and medium. Concetta Bertoldi, one of the top 10 mediums in the country, is going to shed some light on these terms and also explain to us what she does.
I'm so excited that you're here.
I am excited too.
Yes, and for these explanations, so many people don't understand the difference between psychics, mediums, and all of the above.
Yeah.
Well, the difference between a psychic and a medium is really very simple. If somebody hears dead people, that they are already called a medium, but a medium can also be a psychic. So simply, a psychic who just says they're a psychic senses future predictions, can forecast, but if they say psychic medium, it includes that they hear dead people. So I would address myself as a psychic medium because the dead folks tell me predictions. So there lies my ability to hear dead people to tell me a forecast. But a psychic can sense the predictions and forecast without the help of dead people.
Right. So not every psychic is a medium.
That's correct.
No. Right.
That is correct, yes.
But if you're a medium, are you usually psychic?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, because if you're a medium, you're hearing dead people, and they'll be talking about all things in life, including future things.
Right.
And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's bad, you know.
True,
right now I'm in that position because of the fact of what's going on in our world today.
Right.
And it's a very scary thing for me because I see predictions very clearly.
How long have you done this?
I've heard dead people all my life. I can
Right.
remember. I didn't know I was a medium. I didn't understand what it was called at that time. But as early as age 9, and I remember knowing that there was something very different in what I was able to hear and see than the little kids I hung around with. I was fortunate because my father knew about it.
Okay.
My father's father had the same ability. So my father was prepared for this, that this was going to happen to me. My mother was not. My mother
Right.
had no experience in this at all. So it was very difficult for her as I was growing up, but she did get in life comfortable with it. She ended up being very comfortable with it, but it took time. But try to imagine this was like the 50s,
Right.
You have a child who's like, my mother said her earliest recollection was, I was outside and playing in the yard, and I came in the house and I said, Uncle Jerry's leg is gone and it's all bloody. And my mother said, why would a little girl say that? Go back outside and play. And the phone rang, and it was my mother's sister-in-law telling her that her brother had just gotten a motorcycle accident and they were asking for permission to amputate his leg. So that was my mother's first real experience for what was going on.
All right, so tell us how you've progressed to where you are today. Really,
It's really a miracle, Deb. I have to say, I never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I always knew as a young child that I wanted to be, this is going to sound funny, but I always wanted to be in front of a camera or have a mic in my hand.
Great.
I love to sing.
Born to do it.
Yeah, I just really feel in my heart, I just love being in a performing, entertaining kind of way. But I never thought it was going to be using this ability in front of live audiences. I am very grateful though. But how I got to this point, very simply, was my brother, who was 11 months older than me, he died when he was 38 years old and I was 37. And he came right away to me and said, please help us. We need your help. Wow. You got to help us deliver these messages. And I was reluctant in the beginning because I said, how do I do that? I mean, my family knew about my ability and my friends knew, people that were really close to me, but the outside world, I just didn't go around telling that to people because there's a lot of judgment, and we all know how cruel the world can be.
Don't you have a 7-year waiting list?
Yes, I do. Right now, we're trying to catch up because of what happened with COVID. So I'm not making new appointments, but we are booked for the next 7 years. But my assistant is amazing, and I never let people down. If I make a promise, I'm going to do it. And that's just who I am. And I'm never going to stop doing it because I love my work. I've come to really understand why I'm doing it. I've come to really understand the importance of what I'm doing. It
That's it.
not only does it bring me joy, and it gives me comfort if I can just even make a small difference, but the other thing is my tremendous faith in God, to be quite
Yes.
honest. It really is.
Well, it's God's work.
It's
You're
God's,
doing
in
God's
my,
work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel that way. And it doesn't, just so your audience knows, I don't feel it has a particular, it's not a particular religion attached to it. It's
Right.
one God for
Right.
all people.
Right.
And it
Right.
doesn't, I don't care what anybody chooses to worship, as long as you keep God in your heart, we're all on the same page.
The other
Right.
thing that people should know is people might think it's scary or whatever, but I have seen Conchetta, and I have seen the peace and the love
And the
that
closure
you and the
that she
closure that you
offers,
bring
yes.
to people after they've had.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
sessions
people are
with you.
crying, but I really feel like they're tears of joy, relief,
Yeah.
and just
Relief,
that they
release.
know the person is
Is
in a
safe
great
or,
place, and
Yes.
they get a message that can really have,
Yes.
at peace,
Yeah.
really.
Well, let me-
Forgiveness. I've seen people get forgiveness and
Oh,
have just
yeah.
been so relieved to
Without
get
question.
that. So it's
So
it's beautiful
true.
work.
So needed,
It's-
yeah.
Thank
it's
you so
healing.
much.
It's healing
It is.
work.
It's healing.
Well, these are the things they tell me. First and foremost, we don't come to earth to be perfect. None of us have been born here to be perfect.
Right.
We have been born here to be faithful. Be faithful that God exists. And as long as you embrace that and keep that in your heart, you're going to be okay. But I do appreciate what you both said, because that makes me feel wonderful. And I do feel that way, because that's the peace it also gives me. In the knowing that we don't die,
Yeah.
that this is just Camp Earth. And
Right.
where
Yeah,
we
right,
go
right.
from here is home.
Right.
That's where we really live. This is just a temporary spot, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
It must make you feel so good to make so many people happy and make so many people feel good about.
Such a nice
Keeps
thing
you
to
young.
say. Yeah. Well, that's a
That's
really
it,
nice
yes.
thing to say. Yeah, well, I do feel good about it when people tell me these lovely things that they get from it. And I can only say that I get the same thing out of it from my own self.
And tell us
easy.
about your books, because
Yeah.
Conchetta is a New York Times best-selling author, a few times over. I know.
Well, thank you so very,
Yes.
very much. My last book was called I Kissed a Ghost and I Liked It.
Yes.
My first book was called Do Dead People Watch You Shower? And,
I love that book.
oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Love that book.
Well, what I love about it, Barb, it was the first of its kind. They had at that time they had never had a FAQ
Right.
done with this subject matter. So
Right.
it was the first, and it really did well. It's in very many languages around the world,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah,
very
14.
proud of that.
14 languages
Yes,
now, right? You
yes,
said?
it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I-
Go ahead.
Sorry,
hon.
I had two things in that book that I absolutely loved. Absolutely loved. There's a part in there where you say that it is not up to us to keep people here longer than we should when they really are ready to move on.
Right.
And I so believe in that.
So true.
And that
Yes,
was so
I do too.
powerful.
Yeah.
And it's
and
hard. It's a hard thing.
It's a very hard choice to make, but sometimes modern medicine can
prolong things.
prolong
Well, it's not
things,
only
yeah.
modern medicine, but it's sadly people.
Moving on.
Because there's people. I just had this happen to me to somebody that I'm very close to. Her mother was 104 years old,
Oh,
and
wow.
the woman had no quality of life
Yeah.
at all. And I knew where she was going from here, so I'm thinking, I was praying, Lord, take her, because
Right.
this poor woman had no quality of life. And my friend, who I love very much, but she was just hell bent on like saying, she didn't want to let her go, basically.
Yes.
And
Yes.
she and I disagreed on this. And I respect her. It's her mother, and I respect her choice. But in my heart, I was saying, and I said it to her, I said, I have a totally different way of looking at this. I have a totally different thing I
104,
would
my gosh.
I would say about it. And I did when my own parents passed. I mean, I said, dear Lord, don't keep them here if they cannot live the quality of life
Right.
that they're used to, and they have to lay in that bed and just be like that. That's
No.
not the way my mother or my father would want to live. So I ask you, please, Lord, take them home.
So, Conchetta, you actually have 4 books. We've
Yes.
heard about the first one and the last one. Can you tell us quickly about the other 2
The
books?
two in
that you
between,
have? Yeah,
yes.
the two in between.
After Do Dead People Watch You Shower was such a success, they asked me for another one quickly, so we titled the second one, Do Dead People Walk Their Dogs?
Love it.
And the reason we did that is because animals are created by
Oh.
God. They're life created by God, and they don't die either. So I love telling the stories about how people witness a pet that they've lost, and they know obviously the dog is still around them.
Right.
And I just love the fact that I get to tell people that our precious animals our beloved pets do not leave us either,
Oh.
that they're in the light of God as well. The next one is called Inside the Other Side. Well, it has many testimonies from clients, again, because I love to collect these beautiful stories, how people witness that their loved ones are still around them. But I also incorporated a lot of also personal stories from my life in Inside the Other Side. I don't use a ghostwriter, if you'll excuse the pun. Everything is said by me,
That's
so
great,
I
right.
really have so much fun collecting these stories and writing these things down.